I'm Aaron from the Pickleball Clinic. I'm here with Collin Johns, one half of the #1 pickleball doubles team in the world. Him and his brother Ben have taken the pickleball world by storm, absolutely dominated over the last few years, and I know there's a lot more to come. So thanks for being here.
Absolutely. Glad to be with you.
So I want to start with the origin story. Where did the Collin Johns pickleball whole world begin?
Yeah, so I made the transition from professional tennis. So my little brother drugged me in, and I was a little reluctant at first. When he first introduced it to me, I was like, that's a silly sport for old people. I'm never going to play that game. And I was fully committed to pro tennis. But 2 years in, Ben was #1 player in the world, and I was retiring from tennis, and I gave it a second look, and I'm certainly glad that I did that.
You've been a huge voice in the coaching world, adding a lot of value to players, to even coaches themselves. What are, in your view, 3 very important things any player can do to improve their game?
Yeah, 3 that come to mind, and the first 2 I really try to emphasize when I'm coaching, and those are court position and shot selection. So if you do those 2 things well, you don't necessarily have to have the greatest skills in the world to beat people with better physical skills than you. So if you really understand those 2 and you apply them well, you literally don't have to make your physical skills any better. They will just be better simply by virtue of being in the right place at the right time and choosing the right shot. And then the last part of that is once you start to identify the things that you feel like you need to work on, drilling. Drilling is a really great way to get better. It's a really efficient way to practice, and it's something Ben and I do constantly, pretty much exclusively as our practice. And certainly knowing how to drill and practicing the right things is a huge component to that. But I would say drilling, court position, and shot selection, if you do those 3 things, you give yourself the best chance to improve.
One of the things that fascinates me about your game, you're not doing flips, somersaults on the court, you're not the flashiest player, but you're there every time, you get every ball. So, I think that comes from a sense of anticipation. What are you doing to anticipate so well? How can other players learn to anticipate, as best as they can?
Yeah, certainly anticipation is vitally important, and a lot of it comes down to pattern recognition, and having experience is a big part of that, but certainly looking for certain things and learning from certain things is something that I contribute to that anticipation, and certainly trying to learn from the people around you. If you have people that know the game really well, that have been playing a long time, people that anticipate well, try to learn from them. So definitely can't overstate how important anticipation is, because if you're in the right place at the right time ahead of time, you're going to be that much better.
Is there a shot or strategy you feel like is not being taken advantage of at players, especially at the higher level, sort of this concept of money on the table?
Yes, I would say the answer to that for me would be the transition zone. A lot of people like to practice the shots that they can win the point on, the flashier ones, the speed ups, the earnies, the drives, and they don't get down to the nitty-gritty of just making the balls that you need to make to put yourself into position to win the point. So something like a block reset or a half volley from midcourt isn't the flashiest shot in the world, but it keeps you in the point. And it's really just about the math of the game. If you're not getting into the line as much, you're less likely to win points. So I feel like more players could practice in the transition zone and benefit from it.
So this next question, I think, will really benefit myself and the person holding the camera, my good friend, my business partner, my doubles partner, Matt. We grew up playing tennis together, now pickleball together. We have success as a doubles team, but with the pros that come from playing with someone you have a strong bond with, there are cons that come along with it. When you take that off the court, you're with that person outside of pickleball. Obviously, with you and Ben, there's a lot more success than unsuccess, but what would you say generally are the pros and cons of playing with someone you have a strong bond with, outside of the pickleball court?
Yeah, there's certainly pros and cons to that. I've certainly seen people struggle with this, whether it's a friend, a family member, a significant other, and it's not for everybody. Sometimes you just have to decide, you know what, let's spend time together off the court, but on the court, let's find different partners. In my personal experience, it's been great to do this with my little brother, and we rarely bicker on the court or have a problem on the court. So that's been good, and I feel like it helps us have better chemistry than just about anybody else, because we sort of know each other's games, and certainly our personalities better than anyone. So there's really no substitute for that, and when you're playing a team sport, I think it really helps.
So, Matt and I started a pickleball academy. We coach every day. If a coach comes to you and says, What's one thing I can do to be the best coach I can be? What would you say?
I would say in order to be the best coach you can be is never think that you know everything, continue to learn and try to learn from reliable sources that you don't even necessarily have to accept what they're saying at all or right away. It's introduce new concepts, always be thinking about the next thing, because if you're static, whether as a coach, a player, or something else, then you're just not maximizing who you can be as a coach. And it's something I still try to do, is I still try to learn and add things by watching, by listening. And to me, that's one of the most important things a coach can do.
Speaking of resources for learning new things, I think you have a platform to help people do that, right?
Yes, we do have an online platform. So Pickleball 360, that's where we publish instructional videos, and it's subscription based. So you do have to pay for it, but we've had that for a couple of years now, and definitely going to be trying to do more marketing this year for that. We certainly have a lot of content built up, and definitely just need to get the word out and try to help people become better players.
So we know you're a doubles legend. You're dominant in the doubles realm, but how come we haven't seen you on a singles court?
So the singles court, I gave up singles. I'm now officially retired from singles pickleball, but I did that in tennis for many years. I played a lot of singles. So I feel like that ship has sailed. I've already done that. Certainly in the beginning when I first started playing pickleball, I played quite a lot of singles because it's easier when you're transitioning. But once I was proficient in doubles, I decided I liked that a lot more. And I'm going to stick to doubles unless it's a dream breaker or beating up on Ben in singles practice when we're drilling.
I'm sure that's easy.
It's no problem if you know exactly where he's going to hit the ball.
Right.
The only problem is he knows where I'm going to hit the ball.
Last question, super simple. Why do you love pickleball?
Why do I love pickleball? Personally, I love that there's a creativity aspect to it. You have the freedom to innovate in a way that other sports you really can't, because things have been more figured out. They're more rote. Certainly coming from tennis and other sports, you're going to learn a certain way, and there is some level of creativity that you can get to, but it's not nearly as much as pickleball. And nobody's figured out how to play the perfect pickleball game yet. And you see it with new shots, new strategies coming in all the time. So to me, that keeps it really fresh and interesting, and trying to figure out a new way to do something is really what makes me enjoy it and wake up in the morning and want to get better. But as a broader answer, generally speaking, I love that it's very inclusive, that just about anybody can play it. It's very accessible. If somebody who's 80 can play with somebody who's 10, it's a pretty cool sport that is able to accomplish that. So that would be what it is for me.
Thanks, Collin. Appreciate it, man.
Yes, you're welcome.